Here from District Attorney
Good morning,
Keith Blackwood.
Everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm here to announce that this week members of the Mobile County District Attorney's Office presented the investigation into the death of Jawan Dallas to a Mobile County grand jury. This morning that grand jury reported and found that the responding officers were not criminally liable for the death of Jawan Dallas. Our investigation included interviews of multiple witnesses, some of whom were with Jawan Dallas prior to his death. It included toxicology reports, autopsy reports, testimony from the medical examiner who reviewed voluminous medical records. It included 911 calls and the body-worn camera footage. At this time, I would open up the floor for questions.
What was the cause of death?
So the cause of death in this case were, in layman's terms, Mr. Dallas suffered from some serious underlying medical issues. Those issues were exacerbated by drug use. There were multiple drugs in Mr. Dallas's system. And then when Mr. Dallas initiated the struggle with police, that situation also exacerbated the underlying medical conditions. It's important to note that prior to contact with police, an eyewitness, an associate of Mr. Dallas, told authorities that Mr. Dallas was already exhibiting signs of these underlying medical conditions.
Did the taser exacerbate his medical conditions?
According to the autopsy report, no. It was the struggle that he initiated with police in combination with the drug use just prior to contact with police.
So was heart attack the cause of death, or what was the official cause of death?
The official cause of death can be found on the autopsy report, which you can get from the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences. It is a highly technical medical term, and it's about a paragraph long.
And so just to be clear, you're saying the taser played no role even in combination with these other factors?
According to the forensic medical examiner, no. It was the struggle that Mr. Dallas initiated with police, as well as the multiple drugs that were in Mr. Dallas's system that he had taken just prior to contact with police.
What were the drugs?
Those will be contained in the autopsy report. One was Mojo, which is a synthetic cannabinoid, and the other, I believe, was an amphetamine of some kind.
When will the family be able to see the body camera footage?
I have reached out to the Dallas family this morning. I spoke with Mr. Dallas's mother. We had a very cordial conversation, as we always do. I notified her that the city would be reaching out to her about setting that meeting up. That was a question that she had, and I expect that to happen this morning if it hasn't happened already.
When will the public get to see it?
So the body-worn camera footage is not a public record. There is a statute in place now to allow the family to see that. That will happen. A family can have a representative with them, but at this point, under Alabama law, body-worn camera footage is not a public record.
What was the demographic makeup of the grand jury?
That information is, well, it's secret. I don't have that at this point right now, but I can tell you I spoke with the grand jury, and it was demographically diverse.
What law says that this is a public record, body camera?
It's an Alabama state law regarding body-worn camera footage. You're speaking about House bills right now. No, but you can research Alabama law, and it says specifically body-worn camera footage. At this point, is not a public record.
And to be clear, this was the conduct of 2 police officers that the grand jury reviewed?
There were 2 police officers that were directly involved in the struggle that Mr. Dallas initiated. The grand jury heard all of that evidence. They saw the body cam footage, and they made the determination that those officers were not criminally liable.
And did the grand jury make any determination about the burglary call-in that triggered all this, whether Jawan Dallas was involved in that? Because this kind of keeps saying that he had nothing to do with that, and he was pulled out of his car and he had every legal right to be there, and officers overstepped in that regard.
Evidence of that 911 call was part of what was presented to the grand jury. Their job was to determine whether there was any criminal liability on the part of officers, and they made that determination that there was not. But evidence of that call was certainly a part of the investigation.
And so just to be clear, this clearing him of wrongdoing, not just with respect to the death, but to whether or not they overstepped their bounds in pulling him out of the car. I mean, they reviewed that and determined that they did not act criminally in that manner, had probable cause to pull him out of the car?
You know, they viewed the body cam footage that shows exactly what happened when Mr. Dallas exited the vehicle. So yes, they did a thorough review of that and made this determination.
There's one officer who tased him twice, correct?
Yes, to my knowledge, it was one officer. He was tased twice. That part was reviewed as well, and that was not a part of the cause of death. That was a part of the evidence that the grand jury investigated, obviously, because it was part of the body-worn camera footage.
And how dispositive is the body cam footage? And I know a lot of times of these things, especially when it's kind of close in combat, it's really difficult to see anything from them or draw any conclusions. I mean, does this clearly show what happened, or is it a case that it's really not clear from the footage itself?
I can't tell you what the grand jury determined to be dispositive. I will say that in a general sense, body-worn camera footage tells a part of the story. It's an important part of the story. However, you know, we have a process, and we followed the process in this case. And we gathered all the attendant facts and circumstances, all of the forensic medical reports, the toxicology reports. We presented a complete case to this grand jury so that they could make an appropriate determination, which they did.
If you're familiar with it, the ordinance that was introduced by City Council this week, will that have any effect if it's to be passed on who can view the body cam footage?
I've been advised that the city did pass an ordinance. It will not affect what we do in any way at the district attorney's office, so I would direct you to the city on that.
When you present the case to the grand jury, do you make a recommendation with your presentation?
Absolutely not. This decision is the decision of the Mobile County grand jury. We do not tell them what to do. That would be unethical, and we would never do that.
How many people make up the grand jury, and can you describe, because they can ask questions, right?
Yes.
It's more interactive than like a traditional
It is.
trial, what people might be familiar with?
Yes, there are 18 members of our community that serve on any given grand jury. They are free to ask questions to any of the witnesses. They are free to ask questions to clarify the law to our attorneys that present these cases, and they do that. I can't get into the actual hearing in this case, but I can tell you as a general matter, these grand juries do ask questions.
How many witnesses testified?
I believe 4 witnesses testified.
And to those witnesses, you said some of them were with Dallas prior to this happening. Were any of them at the trailer park when it happened?
I won't get into specifics of who testified, but I will say that there was a statement made by an associate of Jawan Dallas who was with him for a long period of time that day and evening leading up to the contact with police officers. In fact, she told authorities that she was in that vehicle with Jawan Dallas prior to the contact. She told authorities about the activities of selling drugs that Jawan Dallas was partaking in. She partook in drugs with Jawan Dallas, and she gave us a tremendous amount of information. When the police responded to the scene, this witness immediately exited the vehicle and hid under one of the trailers, and she told us about what she observed and what she heard during the course of her experience.
Do you believe that Jawan Dallas had anything to do with this break-in based on what you've reviewed of the evidence?
I don't have any information that he was involved in any kind of burglary. He was with people that had been trespassing on property, and it appeared when police arrived that this person that was trespassing and Jawan Dallas were having some type of conversation, but I don't have any evidence to suggest that he was involved in a burglary.
And did you expedite this at all? Because I recall it's only been a couple weeks since a grand jury came back in the other officer-involved incident, which was from, I think, February or March. This seemed to go a little faster.
Well, thank you for that question. As I alluded to earlier, we have a process here, and in this case, we followed that process. Did we expedite this case? No. We did prioritize it. which means that we were giving this a lot of attention. I mean, there was a lot of community interest in this, as you all know. So I did prioritize this investigation for the good of the community. Nothing was rushed about this investigation. Nothing was rushed about the presentation to the grand jury. We gathered a complete case before we put this in front of a grand jury. We will do that in each and every case like this that we unfortunately have to handle, and we will not be affected by any outside pressure whatsoever when it comes to presenting a complete case to a grand jury.
And they reported back this morning, how many days or weeks, or how long did they take to review this case?
This grand jury was assembled Monday. They heard all of the evidence in an extensive hearing this week, and they reported this morning.
And did the testimony include testimony from the officers? Did they talk to the grand jury?
I don't want to get into specifics about the evidence presented to the grand jury, but all of the evidence was presented.
And was this just the regular grand jury setting that did everything else, or was it special for just this?
No, this was a regular grand jury that was scheduled. This has been scheduled since January, probably December of last year when we make these schedules. This was the regularly scheduled November grand jury. They heard fewer number of cases because of the extent of this investigation, but this grand jury has always been scheduled.
So this is just one of everything else that a normal grand jury does, reviewing cases, issuing indictments?
Yeah, November's always an abbreviated grand jury. It's usually half the time that we have for other months. So there are fewer cases presented, and there were far fewer cases presented because of the time it took to present this investigation.
Were there specific criminal charges that the grand jury was considering, like everything from criminally negligent homicide to murder? I mean, can you explain
Yes.
what charges were
Yes.
presented to them?
Yes, they were advised on all of the homicide laws in Alabama. They were advised on the law of causation and any other relevant areas of the law. We always do that in these investigations.
What happens next?
Well, what happens next? I advised Ms. Dallas that the city would be reaching out to her about viewing that body-worn camera footage, so I expect that to happen.
Has that been scheduled?
I don't know. I spoke to her first thing when I learned the grand jury had reported. Like I said, we had a cordial conversation. I don't know if she's had that conversation with the city yet. I expect, if not, that it will happen soon.
And does the grand jury just issue just a statement, this is no build, or is there a detailed report laying out its findings?
There won't be a detailed report. The report will either be no bill or that no criminal liability was found.
So they're not going to go and issue a detailed report kind of laying out their findings and
No.
rationale?
No, they won't. Certain documents that are in possession of other agencies may be subject to in public records laws, and so information can be found there. As far as our investigation goes, it has been presented to the grand jury. They have reported it, and the case is now closed. All right.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.